Kyle here from All Media Reviews, here to do another Kevin Gilbert Thud track. I don't know how often I'm going to be doing these. I'm going to do as many. I mean, these are going somewhat well, but I may take a break between my other stuff, you know, so, but I'm getting a little bit of a rhythm. So, second track off, Thud, Goodness Gracious, a song I liked a lot when I first heard and then got more into, but anyway, I count that at this point there's not counting live stuff, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 versions, although that's a little hard to take. It's really only 6, I think. Anyway, so there's the standard version, then there's okay, yeah, this has the demo, I think the second disc. Then it has 2 other versions, the Can-Am version and the Botrell Loop mix and the Can-Am version. And then, so this was the second one actually that came out. There was an acoustic version on Bolts here that came out in 2009. But Thud Acoustic is also, so I mean, 7 versions or 6 versions. Those 2, I'm really having a hard time figuring out if there's much of a difference. And then, of course, there's the alternate version. So, the one that came out in the Thud Alternate. So, alright, getting onto the nitty-gritty. The standard version is 4 minutes and 9 seconds. I had them all, the other ones, pulled up in terms of time. There's not a dramatic difference, like when you give your love to me, in the lengths, but a couple of them exceed. That one, the standard version's 409, you know, the acoustic version's 358, 357, and then, you know, I mean, the Botrell Loop mix is a little bit longer, 456, the demo's 408, and then the version that's on the alternate mix is also 408, so they're not the same, though, the demo and the alternate mix, so, okay. So getting into it, so there's a verse that's on the standard version, which I don't believe is on a number. The verse, "Mercy of the crooks, we're broke in stroking vegetables, and there's way too many cooks. In every pot of a pink slip, in every mouth a hook." That verse is not included on a number of these. However, there's a different verse. There's a couple verses on a few of them. So the standard version also has that little like gun that he uses. He uses on some of these other versions, but some of them doesn't have as oftenly used. I always think of that. He used that, I want to say, with Giraffe or Shaming also at one point. But that was like a Kevin Gilbert trope. Like a little thing he liked to use. I don't know, it's like an oscillator, where he got that texture. It's like, ho! It's like a bullhorn kind of thing, but it's not quite that loud. So, okay, the demo. Now, talking about the demo, it's on here. Obviously, it's about the same length, because the standard, it's 408, and the standard version is, how long did I say it was? This will tell me. It's 409, so the standard and the demo are about the same length, but the biggest thing I find with the demo, among other things, the intro is all acoustic strumming, acoustic guitar strumming, which I like in some respects better in some ways, but it has the lyrics, the verse changed. He took that verse, that "Mercy of the Crooks" verse, and changed it to "Goodness gracious, my screams, I think it's supposed to be my screams, I wrote down, my screams become a sigh. As soon as I find a hero, then I have to watch him die. Yeah, Lennon tried to tell the truth, but we preferred the lie. That verse isn't on the standard version and a couple other versions. It's on a few of these other versions. Then he sings the line, "Goodness gracious me," just kind of me. He doesn't like hold the me out like he does in the standard version and the acoustic version. Then there's another verse that's different also. "Goodness gracious, on this we all agree. We're mad at all the users and their wasteful legacy. We're burying, and let me just pull this up here. We're burying all our anger in total apathy. Total apathy. Of course, one of the verses, the verse after this in the demo and then on the standard version starts with total apathy. He doesn't have as much emphasis on the part later. The baby boomers won't get off the swing as he does in the standard. Um, um, yeah, he doesn't accent the words, and he accents. Kevin accents it like the word end and spend and end that line. Goodness gracious, we came at the end. It sounds like it's double or triple tracked. That part always stood out to me when I heard the demo. So, all right, moving on. That's for the most part, what's different about the demo. I like the demo a lot in some ways, but so the Botrell Loop mix. This is the weakest of all the versions to me. There's a couple of things about it. It's on this again. It has kind of a slow dance feel to it. This sustained tone has a Middle Eastern or African percussion at points. Even one point it sounds like there's some cowbell. The vocals, that's the biggest reason why I'm not as crazy about that particular version, is because his vocals are very relaxed, almost lazy, like he's tired or frustrated, which I can sort of understand why, after having doing so many versions of these songs and overworking this album, and also with the Tuesday Night Music Club. I mean, he must have been, I don't know how many different versions he did. This one's when it's like, all right, we're just going to do a kind of lazy version. That does include the Lennon verse, though. And then he does a double background on the second verse where he like does a background, it's a doubling of that vocal, but it's a background vocal. And I do like there's some synths that are used towards the end, and a flute solo. I do like that about this version. And also, this is another thing I knew I'd heard it and I couldn't figure it out after listening to these different versions. He changed the lyrics. My grandma, it's not my grandma, it's goodness gracious, my father used to say things were different in his day instead of my grandma used to say. So, okay. So then you also have on the third version on the 2015 20th anniversary edition book, the Can-Am version, which this is maybe in some ways my favorite version. It's very energetic, very blues rock, very 90s blues rock. The electric guitar stands out more on that than any of these. It sounds like Stevie Ray Vaughan or Robert Cray or something. That blues rock guitar that you'd hear from that period of time. So the production sounds really clean and crisp. I really enjoy like blues rock when it sounds like that. It does have the Lennon verse. The little gun sounds not throughout, but yeah, the bluesy guitar, the groove, and then the blues outro too. It has a bluesy outro, and then also that he does sing the grandma line slightly different in the outro. Goodness gracious, I can still hear my grandma say versus my grandma used to say. So okay, the Can-Am version really, if I'm like wanting to find a definitive version, I almost think that might be my favorite. I love that blues rock guitar. So anyway, so talking about the acoustic versions, which again was initially on, and it's listed with Nick DiVirgilio on Bolts from 2009, and then of course is also on, and I think they're the same. I really think they're basically the same. There's not a ton to say. They're more stripped down. They're slower, of course, naturally. I kind of get the impression that he recorded that after he'd finished the record, like, or I'm going to do an acoustic version of some of these songs. He already knew, more or less. But I had notes about the one from Bolts. Oh, right. It's dreamy. It gets really dreamy at points. I like that, but again, the tempo is so much different. Around 146 or something like that. It's very atmospheric, and there's some synthesizers. Other than that, it's just slower, and it's just him and like guitar and Nick or whatever, doing some djembe or something like that, or tablas. So then there's the Alternate, which came out just a few months ago on Thud Alternate, and it includes the Lennon verse. So a couple of these versions has that line, Lennon tried to, tell the, it starts out, my scream become a sigh, Lennon tried to tell the truth, but we preferred the lie. Includes the gun sounds, of course, some guitar effects. The first chorus is more up-tempo, I noticed. The flow after, we won't get off the swing. Like the standard version, I think it kind of settles down and slows. It just continues to flow at that point. it's more, yeah, the tempo is more consistently higher. And there's not as much dynamic compared to the standard version. You know, I mean, that's the thing is the alternate, but yeah, some of the guitar, there's like more guitar layer. Some of the guitars sound like they have more layers, a few points here and there, but as a whole, I think the alternate version's really, other than the Lennon verse, that verse with, you mentioned John Lennon, it's not, you know, not leaps and bounds different or better. I remember when I first heard this, when I first got it a couple months ago, I was thinking it was, but Goodness Gracious has always been one of my favorites. In some ways, if I had to pick one, it's like the best sort of accessible track. It's a kicking track. It's one of the classic, I don't remember, I put it on my Kevin Gilbert list. It was in the top songs list. It was in the top 15, 20, may have even been in the top 10. I've always really liked Goodness Gracious, but I have to admit that the Can-Am version on this sucker is awesome. I mean, they're different songs in a lot of ways because it's listened to like blues rock as opposed to just a standard pop rock singer-songwriter. But yeah, Goodness Gracious is a terrific track. Though I remember, again, like when I got into Thud, it wasn't the one that, I mean, I knew Shadow Self first. It wasn't the one that grabbed me right away, but then I saw some people talking about it and Goodness Gracious on some of the forums, like, you know, Kevin Gilbert, and I'm like, yeah, Goodness Gracious is unbelievably good. And, you know, I mean, there's all these different versions, and, you know, again, the Can-Am version, it's too bad most people haven't heard the Can-Am version because they don't have this, but at the point that that sucker ends up on Spotify, oh, that's going straight to my 1995 playlist. Or be 2015, one of the, I don't know. So that's it for Goodness Gracious. Goodness Gracious, that was a lot to say. You know, Joytown's the next one on the track list. I'm still working on it. There's even more versions of that. And that's why I knew this was going to be a very extensive list and why I wanted to do these individual videos. If I'd done the whole thing, it would have been like an hour video. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please leave a comment, ring the notification bell, and we'll see you next time.